spectacular new evidence proves that the first humans arrived in Europe approximately 1.4 million years ago. During warm periods in Earth's history, known as interglacials, glaciers the size of continents receded, exposing new landscapes. These were new worlds for early humans to explore and exploit, and 1.4 million years ago, Europe was a no-man's land that had never been occupied by humans. This is the northernmost known location of what is thought to be Homo erectus-like creatures. The burial age of approximately 1.4 million years ago corresponds to 3 interglacial periods that were among the warmest in the last few million years. Researchers believe that humans took advantage of these warm intervals to disperse to higher latitudes. The intervening glacial periods in this region were bitterly cold, eliminating the possibility of a suitable habitat for humans, and climate had a significant impact on human behavior back then, as it does today. Megafauna, such as the mammoth, hippopotamus, giant hyena, cheetah, beaver, saber-toothed cat, scimitar-toothed cat, and European jaguar, among others, lived in Europe 1.4 million years ago. A new study published in Nature describes the earliest human presence in Europe at a site on the Tisa River in western Ukraine. Scientists examined a layer of stone tools left on a riverbed by the humans who made them. These core and flake tools were made in the Oldowan style, the most primitive type of tool-making, which was first identified in East Africa. The tools had been buried by river sediment, then wind-blown dust, before being discovered by workers at a stone quarry. Early attempts to date the tools proved difficult. Measurements of remnant magnetism in the overlying sediments revealed that the lowermost tools predated the Matuyama-Brunis pole reversal, which occurred 800,000 years ago. This timing exceeds the limits of commonly used dating methods such as radiocarbon dating, which can go back about 50,000 years, and luminescence dating, which is typically limited to the last 300,000 years or so. To solve this problem, scientists used an innovative dating method based on cosmogenic nuclides that can go back 5 million years, the critical time frame for human evolution. Exploding stars outside our solar system emit streams of cosmic rays that enter Earth's upper atmosphere, sending showers of secondary cosmic rays down to Earth, where they react with minerals in rocks and soils to produce radioactive nuclides in tiny but measurable amounts. To determine the burial age of the tools, scientists measured 2 such nuclides in the laboratory, beryllium-10 and aluminum-26. Observing the ratio of these 2 nuclides, which changes over time during burial due to their differing radioactive half-lives, yielded a date: 1.4 million years for beryllium-10 and 700,000 years for aluminium-26. By applying this method to the sediment layer containing the stone tools, scientists were able to determine a burial age of 1.5 to 1.3 million years, making this Europe's earliest securely dated human occupation. The discovery adds a new and unexpected dimension to the story of Europe. Differing perspectives on the meaning of these ancient tools will undoubtedly emerge. The lack of fossils at the Ukrainian site means that researchers cannot definitively identify these human pioneers, but the tools are too old and primitive to be created by either modern humans of the species Homo sapiens or Neanderthals. The toolmakers were most likely a species of Homo erectus, a remarkably successful human ancestor who appeared around 2 million years ago and spread across diverse habitats in Africa, Asia, and Europe. Indeed, early humans passed through the Levant region on their way from Africa to Eurasia, leaving evidence of occupation as early as 2.5 million years ago. Further north, numerous Homo erectus-like fossils dating back 1.8 million years have been discovered in Dmanisi in Caucasus Mountains. The Dmanisi hominins were an early Pleistocene hominin population, and the fossils and stone tools discovered at Dmanisi date from 1.85 to 1.77 million years ago. These primitive humans poked their heads into animal dens to scavenge abandoned kills, using crude stone tools to fillet meat from mammoth and wolf bones and eat it raw. They stalked deer as they drank from an ancient lake and foraged hackberries and nuts from chestnut and walnut trees that lined nearby rivers. As evidenced by gnaw marks from large cats or hyenas on their fossilized limb bones, hominins have occasionally become prey. In fact, early humans and carnivores were eating one another at this location. A series of skulls with diverse physical characteristics discovered at Dmanisi led to the hypothesis that many distinct human species were actually a single lineage. At 1.8 million years old, they are now thought to be a subspecies of Homo erectus rather than a distinct species. Anatomically, the Dmanisi hominins exhibited a mosaic of traits, resembling later and more derived Homo erectus and modern humans, while retaining characteristics of earlier hominids and Australopithecus. Their legs were essentially modern in length and morphology, and they would have been suited to long-distance walking and running, but their arms were likely more similar to apes than to humans. Despite the fact that Homo erectus in East Africa invented hand axes as part of the so-called Acheulean toolkit 1.76 million years ago, none have been discovered at Dmanisi. Instead, the tools are from the older one, or Mode 1 toolkit, the first tools made by hominins, which included simple flakes for scraping and cutting, as well as choppers for pounding. The simple older one tools at Dmanisi are made from 50 different raw materials, implying that the tool makers were not particularly selective. Nonetheless, that simple toolkit allowed them to go global and chart their own course as they departed Africa. Until the discovery of the first jawbone in Dmanisi, researchers assumed that the first hominins to leave Africa were classic Homo erectus. These tall, relatively large-brained ancestors of modern humans emerged around 2 million years ago and quickly invented a sophisticated new tool, the hand axe. The fossils have revealed that these pioneers were startlingly primitive, with small bodies around 1.5 meters tall, simple tools, and brains 1/3 to 1/2 the size of modern humans. Some paleontologists believe they offer a better glimpse into the early primitive forms of Homo erectus than fragmentary African fossils. The small Dmanisi hominins may have used aggressive scavenging tactics, throwing small rocks to steal food from carnivores. It's possible that this power scavenging was done in groups for protection, which led to the development of kinship-based social cooperation. Despite their small stone flakes, these guys were badasses, competing for meat directly with large carnivores. Piles of cobblestones near the entrance of an ancient gully imply that hominins attempted to fend off or hunt predators by stoning them. One skull also contains indirect evidence of social cooperation, as it came from a human who had lost all but one tooth by the time he died. The elderly person would have lived for a relatively long time after losing their teeth, as evidenced by the sockets of the tooth roots being filled with bone tissue, which is only possible if the individual is still alive. Without fire to cook food, a toothless person would have struggled to survive for many years in a cold environment. Though he could have survived on his own by consuming soft animal tissues, such as brains and marrow using pounding tools, a more compelling possibility is that he was cared for by other members of his species. Once in Eurasia, humans migrated eastward at a remarkable rate, reaching as far as the island of Java in Southeast Asia around the same time they arrived in western Ukraine. One hypothesis is that people arrived in Europe from the east via the Danube Valley and the Pannonian Plain by traversing north from the Caucasus around the Black Sea. It is unknown what caused the delayed westward incursion into Europe, but the site in Ukraine appears to bridge the migration gap between the Caucasus, 1.8 million years ago, and sites in southwestern Europe dating back 1.2 to 1.1 million years at the Atapuerca and Vallonnais archaeological sites. Grotte du Vallonnais is an archaeological site in France, halfway between Monaco and Menton. Stone tools discovered at the site date back between 1 and 1.1 million years, making it one of Europe's earliest human settlement sites. Around 100 basic tools made by humans were discovered in the cave. The majority of tools were made of limestone, with a few made of sandstone and quartz. Percussion or pounding tools were the most common. These included poor-quality chopping tools. In fact, none of the tools had been modified to improve their quality. The middle part of a bison femur bone was discovered, and it appeared to have been crafted into a pounding tool. While the majority of the bones in the cave were broken by predator teeth, a few bones bore marks indicating that they were broken by these simple tools. Thus, early human visitors to Vallonay Cave appear to have used stone tools to break bones and consume the marrow within. They brought herbivore carcasses to the cave, including deer, bison, small bovids, rhinoceros, horses and boars. There was no evidence of fire in the cave. Fire had not yet been domesticated. It appears that the humans who visited the cave were primarily scavengers, living on the meat of predator-killed animals. Furthermore, the Atapuerca cave findings back up anatomical evidence of the hominids that fabricated tools more than 1 million years ago, which may have been the earliest among Western European hominids. The first discovery was a tooth, followed by a fragment of a 1.2 million-year-old jawbone and a proximal phalanx, before archaeologists announced the discovery of a 1.4 million-year-old jawbone containing a hominid tooth. Now, paleoanthropologists believe the jawbone in question is from a Homo erectus specimen. Nonetheless, there was a probable demographic discontinuity between European human populations before and after 1 million years ago, with a major split occurring around 800,000 years ago during a bottleneck. The Atapuerca mandibles' generalized and primitive morphology suggests that Homo erectus has no direct relationship with Homo heidelbergensis or Homo neanderthalensis populations. The first settlement of the European continent is a hotly debated topic. Several human groups may have been wiped out by climate conditions during this transition, which lasted over 200,000 years. Meanwhile, new migratory flows into Europe may have occurred, as well as hybridization among the remaining groups, explaining the morphological similarities. This is also consistent with paleogenetic data indicating a split between the Neanderthal and modern human lineages between 550,000 and 765,000 years ago. This event could have also happened to that common ancestor. And with that tantalizing statement, we leave you to ponder the mysteries of our shared human history. Until next time, please check out our many other videos on paleoanthropology and leave a like and a comment. We appreciate your support.